Greetings, welcome to Killco Audio Musings for patrons, or anyone who happens to come across this. My name is Brian. It is October 18th, 2023. I'm currently in the middle of doing two things at once, and I don't know how well it works because I don't know if I can think of two things at once. I'm trying to actually create badges for the YouTube channel because when you get monetized, you find out a lot more about what you need to do and how you need to do it and what people may or may not want. In this case, it's badges. People can actually join up to the channel similarly to Patreon, but YouTube gets their cut. And we already have some members, and I have a distinct feeling it's a few of you, which I sincerely appreciate that you are willing to not only support me on Patreon, but also support the YouTube channel directly, so YouTube will be like, good monkey, you are getting the monies, we will keep your channel monetized. At least that's how I think it goes, I don't know. For whatever reason, I started with the badges that are the longest away, so people would have to be members for about 48 months, which I feel is absurd, but, I made it look real nice for if and when that happens. Trying to keep a positive spin on all of this. As of this recording, I am working on the 12-month badge. And from there it goes to 6 and 2 and 1. So for those of you who are members, look forward to getting your monthly badge and your second monthly badge fairly soon. As for what I'm doing now that I've returned to Rhode Island, things have gotten pretty normalized. I was able to finish the video for next week last night. I have been attempting to tell myself, or force myself, technically, to get a video out in advance. The video for today is done, the video for next week is done, and I need to get to the point where the next few weeks are done after that. We're already cramming into November. And as you should know, some of you should know, November is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, and I'll be raising some money to support my family, as both my mother and father are dealing with cancer issues. Also, fuck cancer. I hope it will go well. I've reached out to some other channels already, and many of them are thankfully getting in touch with me. I'm mulling over actually starting the GoFundMe and talking more about it on the 28th of October, which seems far away from now, but I know it is not. That way the GoFundMe will start a month prior to my father's birthday. His birthday is on November 28th. And I will be closing out and finishing the GoFundMe on that day. Last year, I officially started it at 2,000, I believe. And that seemed like a stretch to me, but because of the generosity of the community and many of you on Patreon, we doubled it. We got to $4,000, and I am certain it helped my parents out quite a bit because of the unseen costs of dealing with cancer, the gas, the travel, the wear and tear on the car, the hotel stays, the just getting food while you're going to and from the place. All the little things that are suddenly being added to trying just to deal with the cancer is not often talked about, not often realized. Thankfully, my parents have good medical, so they haven't been getting screwed in that regard. The other important fact that my father wouldn't want to talk about, and I can talk about here, thankfully, is that he was the big supporter of the family for as long as I can remember. He worked his ass off as a teacher. He had his own business doing audiobooks, which still exists on Audible. But as anything is in this world, the royalties just go down and down as you do not create more audiobooks, and he hasn't been able to record anything in quite a while. He did it for so long that, his voice started to go at one point, and he still wasn't going to stop. He started using, what do I even call them? Digital voices? Somehow there is stuff out there where it will read a book for you and recite it back to you, but it's a little mechanical. It's a little bit like this sometimes, but it can often sound fairly well. But there are certain things it does not enunciate well, and also it does not give much emotion when it talks about a story. I had to listen to a few of those just to edit them for audiobook purposes, and I honestly didn't like some of them, but some of them were okay. Some of them almost fooled me. But there were all these little things. I would just stumble across a certain way something should be said and not saying it correctly or not with enough emphasis. Interesting times. I haven't had to edit much in a while. I have done a few audiobook digital covers for my father recently because he's trying to do compilations, and hopefully those will do something. What was my point? My point is, since my father isn't the breadwinner, God, that sounds awful, the one who is able to work, he hates the fact that he can't work. I know he does. In November, to talk more about, the fact that he's dealing with cancer and we don't know which way it's going to go. I have a distinct feeling I know which way it's going to go eventually, and which is horrifying. And it's going to be very difficult when that does occur. But what I'm trying to do is at least show my family that there is support out there. There are good people who want to help. And I want to do whatever little bit I can to support my parents and help them as they are getting older. And, eventually the goal is to just support myself through what I'm doing. Will that happen? No idea. Just going to keep on plugging away at it and cross my fingers, hope for the best, etc. I was able to spend some time with my brother yesterday, which is a rarity, honestly. We had some beers. He hadn't been to Ragged Island, which is a brewery in the area, which I really like. It's a wonderful property. And he is currently looking for work because he got either laid off or fired or some nonsense because of the owner of the company being a piece of shit and not knowing how to run a business. Basically, my brother was very good at what he was doing, but the guy didn't seem to give a shit about that. And he kind of cut him off at the knees, is that the saying? Since he had done a bunch of sales to get these people to go on trips, and my brother is not going to get, I believe he said, the commission for it, since he's been let go. I don't know how it all works, but basically he got screwed over by that guy because he is not a very good businessman and doesn't understand you need people who can do the job well. And I know my brother well enough to know that if he's doing his job, he's going to do his best, even if he doesn't really like it. And I know, even though it was travel and going places and doing stuff, he wasn't really a fan of how everything was managed, we'll say. The exercise portion, the physical health I'm trying to keep up with, has gone pretty well. Like my return from my trip, which I, of course did not exercise at all that whole time, other than walking around a lot, which does count. Returning to going to the gym to exercise, I was a little nervous. I know it wasn't long and my muscles aren't going to just go away immediately, or I'm not going to gain a whole bunch of weight just from going out and eating more food at restaurants, because those were my options. I wasn't able to just make food. I had a refrigerator and that was it. Actually, I think I had a microwave. I didn't use it though. What was my point? The point is I went to the gym, exercised Monday and Tuesday. Still feel pretty good. I ache, but not in a way where I thought, I didn't think my muscles were just completely useless. We actually got to do some heavy lifting, which is very rare, but there were only a few of us in yesterday's class, and it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good to go up there and just, I think it was it's not a deadlift. It's where you put it on your shoulders and then do like a squat and then lift it up again. I forget what it's called, but we did a few of those. I don't even know how much the end weight was. It was over 100 something odd pounds. I know that. And that does feel weird when my weight at the moment is 185 and I know I'm lifting something that is at least 150. Could have been more. Try not to think about it. Usually with weightlifting, I don't want to know too much. Pick it up. Is it heavy? Yes. Is it too heavy? I don't know. We'll find out. Other than that, just attempting to get back into the swing of things. I have done a few minor altercations around my apartment. I moved my bed, which I've been meaning to do for a very long time. And I am attempting to encourage myself to clean up my apartment more. It is still an absolute mess. And every time I look at it, it's daunting. I want it to look a certain way. I want to get rid of a bunch of stuff, but I do not have the energy or focus to just do it, which is extremely frustrating, as you can imagine. And what little focus I have often goes to just making the channel better and doing what I need to do otherwise, like feeding myself. I almost forgot to have lunch entirely today because I've been so fixated on the badges and the emotes that I want to make for the channel. But anyhow, speaking of that, I have not actually been working on that while I'm doing the podcast here because I can't think and talk and make badges all at the same time, it would seem. So I'll get back to that. Maybe have another snack before the end of the day. maybe have some whiskey, maybe record something. I have no idea at this moment. I do know I have to get to sleep at a reasonable time tonight because I, for whatever reason, decided to do a very early spin class tomorrow. I couldn't go to the usual circuit training class. The trainers have switched the schedule around a little bit, so the class I would normally go to isn't happening, so I'm doing spin instead. We'll see how all that goes. Mornings aren't my friend, and I've been sleeping in a little more than I care to, like 11 a.m. With that, as always, live long and prosper. Don't forget to be awesome, and I will see you out there.